Hey Rick, man, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Keith. How's New York?
It's fantastic, man. Love Central Park.
It
Love
looks like Central Park has a little early autumn going on. I get
it
some cool
does, man. Yeah, we experience a lot of differences with the climate right now. So
colors.
this is one of them. Rick, man. So we're gonna get going, man, with a short little podcast here. I don't know if you know this about me, man, but I'm a really big fan of British cinema. This is something that my mom kind of hooked me on. And one of the shows I got into several years ago was Downton Abbey. Huge fan of Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
Well, there's one scene in Downton Abbey to where one of the domestic workers in the home is wants to get out of service, and she wants to go out on a career. And this is in a time period at the turn of the 20th century in which women are not working. They're not in the workforce. It's not like today, which I love how it is today, and it's improving as we speak for different genders. But in this particular case, she wants to go out and she wants to be a secretary, a typist, and which is unheard of. And so one of the entitled individuals of this aristocracy is a young woman who also is coming into her own, and she wants to help this person who is a domestic within the home. And so the typist, the person who's aspiring to be a typist, goes out and applies for a job, and she doesn't get it, and she's very distraught and upset because she didn't make it. And on her first attempt, and the young woman who is part of the wealthy family says to her friend, she says, "No one hits the bullseye with the first arrow." And this is from Downton Abbey, and it was Lady Sybil told the domestic win this.
She
No,
was so kind. Sybil
yeah,
was so kind.
yeah, exactly. No one hits the bullseye with the first arrow. And so I thought we just do a riff a little bit about that. So when it comes to living life in a conscious way, Rick, and being peaceful, loving, and compassionate, and we have to, overcome our default settings of being fear-based and defending and having judgments about the way things should be or people. How do you overcome that? Because a lot of people get discouraged because this isn't working. They do their first yoga practice of meditation. I can't stop thinking. Like it doesn't stop, or they leave a retreat and they come back to the quote unquote real world, and they're back on that hamster wheel. So what does this mean to you that no one hits the bullseye with the first arrow?
Well, that's the point of why it's called practice.
Exactly.
It's not called perfection.
Exactly.
And the thing that I think viewers should get out of all of these podcasts that we do, that we still struggle with this, and we still have the same kind of crap going on in ourselves as everybody else does. That, we still judge people. We still are hard on ourselves. We still have anxiety. We can't sleep. We're afraid of, all that stuff is the human condition. So the idea is the practice means that you come back to a system, you come back to a way of looking at life that makes it easier for you to function and makes you more compassionate, more kind, more understanding of yourself and others, and makes you feel better. And so the idea of the practice means forget about the bullseye the first time. The idea is do what you're trying to do with your practice and continue to go back to it. Even if you tweak it a little bit, make things a little different, that's where you should be, because again, you can't control how long it's going to take you. You've got layers and layers and layers of stuff that you've had since you were a kid that cause you to judge and cause you inner turmoil. The practice of getting out of yourself and minimizing ego and thinking of yourself as being part of a greater good. Those are things that you want to go for. So I guess my point is that the first thing is you just have to recognize that it's always going to be there, and you have to develop a practice that helps you get beyond that, get beyond your little objections and your little failures and all of the rest of it. It's not important. Second point is detachment. You work like hell to do what you can do. you do your best, you try your hardest, and then you detach from outcome.
Yes.
And the thing that's a little troubling about that example with Downton Abbey is she eventually gets to be a typist. But the practice would teach you, you may do 50 times, and you may never be a typist. The idea is that shouldn't bring you down, because it's the process of doing it that's the reward. And your reaction to whatever your failures is irrelevant. It's the idea that you're continuing to do it and you're detaching from the outcome. That's not in your control. It's just like arguing a case to the jury. You put all your evidence in, you make your arguments, and then you go have a beer. I mean, it's beyond your pay grade. It's in the jury's hands. It's in the universe's hands. It's in God's hands, or whatever your belief system is out there. But I believe that the idea that we fail or that we are discouraged is, again, something that's a construct of humans. And failure is something that really, that's not tolerated very well in America. So we always are trying to cover that up. I think the sooner you deal with the fact that we're going to fail, it helps you with the practice. Don't you think?
Oh, I do, Rick. You said something earlier that really struck me as I was listening. And, as you are giving yourself some grace, as you are trying to, pull the arrow back and aiming for the bullseye, and again, being really completely detached from outcome is a great practice in itself, and helps you just be with the journey, be with the work, the process. And you said something about, like, we've been conditioned to expect to be perfect, right from the get-go. And that's just not the case. I look at my own life. It was 40 years of 40 plus years of conditioning and judging and being so identified with my default settings that it's a miracle that I've come this far in such a short period of time, because I had so much poor behavior to overcome, man.
You're exaggerating now, man. But I take your point.
If you just saw what was externally manifested, what was going on inside, dude, no one should be exposed to that. And so it's been me continuing to pick up the bow and arrow and aiming for the bullseye. Again, being really getting better and better at how I draw the bow back, and my voice, but my breath being still, my body motion and my mechanics improving with every repetition. That's what's really it's been about. And so with every time that I didn't handle a situation in a peaceful way, the fact that I was able to handle the next situation just a little bit differently, that I was able to, not blow off in that situation, but every other situation blow up or react. And then it became every fifth situation. And then it became every 100th situation. And then the situations that are normally that I would react a certain way to, I didn't react at all, didn't even notice them. But that became, but I had to start with the first arrow. And then I just kept picking it up. And that's what the practice does. As you mentioned, Rick, I keep getting more and more reps. It becomes more comfortable in my hand, in my consciousness. I'm able to slow down. I'm able to be more aware. Man, it's a beautiful place to be, man. Like with everything that people are struggling with right now, and I would have been right there with them. I don't see the same world. I don't. And I mean, Wayne Dyer says it, and we've quoted him several times. Hostile world or peaceful world? Same world.
Same world.
Same world, man. So Rick, thank you for a great show, man. I'm going to keep aiming for that bullseye every morning with my practice. I feel like it's deepening my practice and my capacity to be loving and kind and my best.
Well, that's great, Keith. Me too. I struggle every day, and practice always brings me back to who I really am.
Awesome. Rick, I love you, man. Have a really great day.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.